Thank you. Today I'm going to give you an overview of some of my art projects over the last 10 years or so. As an artist, I strive to create work that is conceptually motivated, and I try with varying levels of success to engage the public on issues I think are socially relevant. Sometimes this works and sometimes this doesn't. It can be hard to put into words everything I was thinking about when I made each project, but today as we go, I'll try and describe how each one is made and try and give you a little bit about what I was trying to communicate. From one to the next, these will feel pretty unrelated, but hopefully as we go, you'll see some familiar themes showing up again and again, and a constant focus on simplifying ideas to expose issues that people may be taking for granted. So a little background. I started making art at a really young age. Both my parents were artists and my dad worked at a bronze casting foundry. So I did a lot of art made out of wax and out of bronze. Wax is an integral component to the bronze making process. I wasn't really sure what I was trying to say here. This was through high school. I was kind of just making things in my hand, and the material really motivated me in what I was doing. Then I went to college and I started exploring different mediums like plaster, clay, steel, wood. But most of my classes still focused on form and material. It wasn't until the end of my third year in college that I started to focus on ideas and concepts instead of aesthetics and design. And so I did this first project here, which is called Life Support. And this is a little hard to explain. What it is I went and bought a chicken at the grocery store, a chicken carcass, and I made a mold of it, and then I made a plaster cast, so I had this plaster chicken. And then I wrapped it in saran wrap and masking tape and then cut it off and put it back together again. So I really had this masking tape bag that was shaped like a chicken. And then I filled it with corn and these light bulbs. And so I wasn't really sure what I was trying to say here, but I liked the idea that these were like little bodies that needed to be supported. And so I hung them on this coat rack, kind of like in an incubator. And you could come up and touch them, and they were warm and they were squishy. So I guess this was my first step. I didn't know what I was saying here, but one thing I really liked was I was using materials from everyday life. I was using masking tape, corn, a coat rack, whatever, a light bulb, things that people could relate to, maybe in an easier way than just like bronze sculpture. My next project was also kind of a transition. This is called Documentation of a Bird in a Box. And what it is I had this dead pigeon that I had found, and I had frozen it, and I knew I wanted to do a project with it. And so I welded it into this box with a little spy camera, a little video camera that I had bought on eBay. And then I hooked up the video camera to the television so that you could just see this pigeon in this box. And here's a picture of it on the television. And here, I guess I was trying to play with this idea of TV. And when I was a little kid, I watched a ton of TV. And there's all these graphic images and violence on TV that we kind of take for granted. And so I was kind of, trying to start that discussion and relate that to this idea of this dead pigeon on the TV, and how is that connected to, stuff you might see on TV. There was also sort of a voyeuristic quality going on here. We were spying into this box. It was kind of like its own little morbid reality TV show. Then I did this project. And this is when I finally realized that the idea could be more important than the form. This is called Planting Trees, and what I did here was I bought these 3 20-foot 2x4s at the store, and I drove them out to a state park, and I planted them in a pine forest. And that's the whole extent of the project. I guess I was kind of working with this idea. I wanted to do something about natural resources, and I was thinking about where these materials come from that I had been using. And I wanted to kind of give it back, make it sort of a poor man's reparation to the environment. It was like a symbolic righting of wrongs in a way. But I really just wanted to highlight, where natural resources come from, where they go, what are we doing on the planet here. So that was this project. This next one is called Disarm Me Men. And what I did here was I went to the store and I bought these packages of toy soldiers. And I took them home, and I carefully opened them up, and I laid them all out. And then I cut all the guns off. I cut all the guns and the grenades and the ammunition and everything. I turned them back into people instead of soldiers. And then I was thinking about how, what would a child think if he got a bag of people? Or what would his parent think? So I actually went and I snuck these back into the store, and I put them back on the shelves. And here is it on the shelf right here. And I guess with this project, I was thinking about like our culture of violence, our gun culture. I know that when I was a kid, I played with toy soldiers, I played with toy guns all the time. And so I kind of wanted to just draw attention to it in a way. And just, with this weird thing, that might highlight that and like kind of make people like do a double take. With this project, what I really thought was interesting was the forced interaction. That hypothetical person that bought it would now be forced to interact with my artwork and be forced to have that conversation, which is something that I've used later on. This project is called the Lookout Tower. And what it is I built this box, this plywood room that was exactly my width and my height. And I could stand inside of it, and there was a little window out where my eye level was, and I could look out of it, and no one could see me inside. And on the back was a door that would slide down. And so then I put it on this 10-foot tall metal tower. And it was displayed in a library. And I guess, when I first started, I was thinking about these ideas of public and private space, how I could be in a private space in the tower and yet be in completely public, because anyone can just look up and see me up there. But then I was also thinking about how this is sort of like a guard tower. And I've just placed a guard tower in this library. And how does that affect the people around it? And how do people feel when there's this box looming over them, just kind of looking at them, and they don't even know if someone's in there or not? So that was what I was going for with that. Here's another picture. This project is called the Date and Time Box. And what this is it's a small device, and inside there's a punch clock, like if you punch in and out at work, and then a roll of paper and a motion sensor. And whenever someone walks in front of the box, it will punch the date and the time on the piece of paper and spool it out the front. So eventually you have this pile of paper looped out the front of the machine. And here's a little bit of the code for how it works, in case you're interested. It has microchips in it that are programmed to make everything function. And I guess what I was thinking about here was, I was into this idea of online data and how all this data is just collected on us all the time. Surveillance footage, phone records, bank records. And I wanted to create a device that was simply just like, its sole purpose was to embody that idea of to just collect data of everything that's happening in its surroundings. And so this too had a little bit of forced interaction. If you walked into the room, you set off the machine and there was nothing you could really do about it, which I liked. This project is called If They Do Not Now Accept Our Terms. And what this is it's an antique device that I bought at a store that was meant to display advertising in the 50s. It would sit on like a bank counter, and there would be a strip of paper with words punched in it that would go across the front of a light, and it would move, and it would advertise loans or whatever. And so I took the piece of paper out and I put a new quote in it. And the quote is, "If they do not now accept our terms, they may expect a rain of ruin from the air, the likes of which has never been seen on this earth." And here's a video. It's going to be a little bit choppy. And that quote is from President Truman the day after he dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and the day before, or several days before dropping the atomic bomb on Nagasaki. And so I guess what I was thinking about here was kind of things that are said by our government or by our president to try and motivate us and sway public opinion, and how really a lot of what is said is propaganda just to kind of sway the public into supporting things like war. And this saying from him could actually have been said by someone recently, like about Iraq or ISIS or Syria or whatever. So I just wanted to kind of draw the connection between this advertising machine and things that are said in public. Here's a view inside so you can see how it works. This project is called First Person Shooter. And I was thinking about video games. And so I made this device, and it's a helmet, and it has this metal tower off the back with a video camera. And the video camera is facing you. And then there's a screen in front of your face that shows what's on the video camera. So that as you walk around with this helmet on, you see yourself from the third person. The appropriate title would be third person shooter, but I was going for the video game genre. Here's here's a view of the front. And so I guess what I was thinking about here is, video game culture and how, I played a ton of video games as a kid. Lots of people play video games all the time. We even play video games that are simulations of real life. And I wanted to take that idea, here's a video, and I wanted to create a device that literally created a simulation of what was happening at that exact moment, create a simulation of real reality. And I also was interested in this idea of, how our world is increasingly being cut off by screens, and how, everyone's looking at their iPhone, talking through cell phones, looking through computers. And so literally with this device, there's a screen right in front of your face, and you can't help to look out at the world but through the screen. This next project is called Tiny TV. And what it is, I was thinking about TV again. And so I found this old video camera, and I was hacking it apart, and the viewfinder was actually a very small television. It was, early technology. And so I took it out and I hacked it into a DVD player, and I had this little 1-inch square black and white television. And so here's a video of what was on it. I put a loop of NASCAR crashes just continuously on the TV. And what I thought was interesting here was the reaction of people who would see this. They would, they're naturally drawn to a TV, but then they would have to get up so close to it to actually see what was on it that eventually they would just be in this weird, awkward position just trying to look at what is on this tiny little television. And then I guess I put the NASCAR crashes on there because it's been shown that the ratings for these programs actually increase the more crashes there are, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I wanted to just, I guess I just wanted to call attention to this device that kind of controls a lot of people's lives. And by tweaking the size, maybe we could start some discussion. This next project is called the minimum wage machine. And what it is it's this vending machine sort of device, and you turn a crank on the machine, and it pays you 1 penny every 4.97 seconds, which equals out to $7.25 an hour. And if you stop turning the crank, you stop getting paid. And you can keep the money, whatever you turn and you earn. This is a view of the inside of the machine. It, too, is run by microchips. It's reprogrammable so that if it's shown somewhere else, and it's been shown in Canada and in England, I can reprogram the machine to pay out different rates. And here's some of the code that runs the machine. And here's a video. I guess here, so I actually thought of this project working at a gas station and working for minimum wage. I would be there all alone, and it was the slowest gas station I've ever been to. I would be staring at the clock, counting off each time I made a penny. And I wanted to be able to transfer this idea pretty readily to other people. And so I made this machine. And what I also liked about this machine was, which I've been trying to do all along, is that it's kind of a real device. It's kind of an appliance, like a refrigerator or something, or a vending machine. It could just exist in real life, which is what I'm trying to go for here. I'm trying to make things that are more like objects and less like art. Here's someone using it. This next project is called the police flag. And what I did here was I bought some shelving units at Target or wherever, and then I bought these lights from a party supply store, these red, white, and blue rotating lights that kind of resembled police lights. And I put them on these racks in the shape of an American flag, and here they are lit up. And this was placed in a vacant storefront that had been vacant for 7 years since it was built, in the bottom of a parking garage, next to a Merrill Lynch, next to a police station on the other side, which I thought was fairly an American thing. And I wanted to show that somehow. And so the flag is a type of, it's a motif that kind of stands for something. It stands for either, it stands for American ideals, and it also marks this space as something American. And then with the addition of the police lights, here's a video. The police lights are kind of a symbol of authority. And so by combining the two, I really wanted to claim this vacant storefront as something essentially American and call attention to it. This next project is called Glitter Bullets. And what it is I wanted to repack bullets with glitter, and yet still keep them functional. So I loaded powder into the casings, and then I put red, white, and blue star-shaped glitter inside, and then reloaded it with the bullet, so that when you shot this bullet, it would actually spray glitter onto the target. And so then I took these NRA-approved law enforcement targets and sprayed them with spray adhesive so that the glitter would actually stick to them, and shot the targets. And this was the result. And I guess what I was going for here was I was trying to open up this discussion, about our gun culture in the United States, and kind of where are we heading. And so this glitter bullet, was kind of the logical extreme. For me, it's similar to like pink guns that are sold, or how anything can be camouflaged. I just wanted to take the bullet and ask, like, is this where we're heading? This project is ongoing, and it's called Text the Mayor. And what I did was, it's in Ithaca, and I hung these signs all over Ithaca they say, tell the mayor, text your message to, and the phone number. And you could text this phone number whenever you want. And what happens when you text the number is that your text message is sent unreviewed and uncensored to a sign that hangs in the mayor's office. Here's the sign. And it's directly across from his desk. So at any time of the day, anyone at all can send a message to the mayor, and it'll show up in his office. And it also is kept in an archive on the website, which lists all of the messages that have been sent. Since June, there have been over 1,000 messages sent. And I guess here I was really just trying to connect, the public in a more direct way to their local elected officials. But also I was kind of just trying to start this discussion of what really is democracy and how does it work? Who really makes the decisions? And more importantly, who really has a say and who doesn't? And I've talked to the mayor about this, and he really enjoys the project, and he was surprised by how much positive criticism, but also suggestions for better ways to do things have come through the sign, which I really like. Here's a list of some of the messages that have been sent. It might be hard to see. Finally, I'm going to end with my newest project here, which is called Monopoly Money. And what I did here was I was interested in money as an object and how people relate to it. And so I took $50 bills and I erased the ink off of them. And then, I screen printed them with a new design, new ink from the Monopoly game. So now I have real Monopoly dollars. And here's a stack of them. And so I was interested in money as an object, and I was interested in how we assign value to this thing that essentially has no value, and how could I change that? And so I've made a new product that is almost identical and yet a completely different value, just to kind of draw attention to this thing that we all use so often. So that's an overview of some of my projects. I've tried to focus on a few major themes in my work, like consumerism or the American spectacle, or how surveillance and technology infiltrate our lives. But broadly, I'm really just trying to expose societal norms that people may have taken for granted. I'd be lying if I said I made art for any other reason than just feeling compelled to as part of who I am. But I'm definitely trying to engage the public and spark debate. Art has the power to redefine ideas visually and physically, to illustrate complex issues in ways that other methods may not. Someone may hear both sides of the minimum wage debate 10 different ways, but after turning the crank on the minimum wage machine for just a few minutes, the feeling of working that type of job becomes crystal clear. And it's because of that I feel a responsibility to use my art to start a discussion of these socially relevant issues. Thanks.